Hello everyone and welcome to the Green Man channel. Hope you're doing good and well. So it's time for a new album review this Sunday, and I'm talking about the 8th studio album from the pop singer-songwriter Sophie Ellis-Bextor and her release Perimenopop, which came out on the 12th of September via Decca Records, and the album is 12 tracks and 40 minutes in length. Now, I used to hear a lot of Sophie Ellis-Bextor back in the early 2000s because her hits were always doing the rounds on the radio. Those singles were played non-stop. The songs from Read My Lips, I guess her debut solo studio album in particular, but I remember that being the time when I was most familiar with Sophie Ellis-Bextor until her resurgence following obviously the film Saltburn, where that film featured Murder on the Dance Floor. Suddenly that became a huge hit in a similar way that Stranger Things seemed to make Running Up the Hill a huge hit once again and brought the spotlight back to Kate Bush. Well, you've seen that done here a bit again, I think, with Sophie Ellis-Bextor. And it's great to see a newfound appreciation for an artist that maybe people wasn't an artist that people have thought about much since the early 2000s. And I love the way that suddenly an artist can get traction again because of the online era, because of social media, because of that platform. And it's great to see, because you know what? Although I was never really into Sophie Ellis-Bextor's music all that much, and I kind of found her singles a little bit annoying because they would just play non-stop here on the radio in the UK. Despite that, I always appreciated her talent as an artist, I think, and I have to say this album is better than just good. This is a brilliant album of back-to-back great pop hits on here that I think could have been big if they'd come out in the 2000s. There's a lot of talk of the modern day kind of pop queens, the likes of Sabrina Carpenter comes to mind, Olivia Rodrigo, all these kind of newer age pop queens. Yet here you are with a pop queen that was big back in the early 2000s, and I feel like she's kind of reclaiming, she's sort of staking her claim and saying, I can still write great pop songs, I can still perform great pop songs, and here's an album of absolutely fantastic songs. And it's great to see. And I also want to just mention the album title, Perimenopop, which is obviously a wordplay on perimenopause. Don't ask me to explain that. You can look that up on Google to find out what that is if you need to be educated on what that is. But yeah, just to quote the Guardian article here, which describes where the name came from. So I'm going to link this article into the description box as well. So Perimenopop is both silly and defiant. It came from a joke in the studio between Ellis-Bextor and her friend Hannah Robinson, who co-wrote some of the songs. We're a similar age, she says, and so we're jokingly saying it's perimenopop, and we thought it was hilarious. It just didn't leave my head. So obviously it came about as a little bit of a joke, but actually, this is about Sophie Ellis-Bextor being defiant and saying, look, I can do great music, and here is a bunch of fantastic pop hits in 2025. And yeah, it really shows that on this album. And it's interesting some of the contributions as well, and the collaborators that she's had work with her on this record, because you've got the likes of Jin Jin, Finn Keen, and already mentioned Hannah Robinson. But Finn Keen's, he's notable, I think, for being involved in quite a few modern pop projects, including those from Charlie XCX, for example, and 2024's Brat. So he's obviously, worked with these kind of songs. And you can hear a lot of those sort of modern pop tweaks on this record, yet also it is evocative of, I think, Sophie Ellis-Bextor's classic sound as well. You can hear those Sophie Ellis-Bextor moments with the catchy choruses, the way she sings the choruses, and those sort of stringed instrument moments you get, and the sort of piano fills, and all those things come into the record as well. So I'm just going to touch on briefly on some of my favourite tracks, as I always do in my reviews. Vertigo, the single and second song on the album, sparked my interest with this album, really. I liked the opening track as well, but this one particularly sparked my interest. I love its crescendoing verse going into the chorus, very classic sounding Ellis-Bextor chorus here. I enjoyed Dolce Vita a lot as well, and another single on the record. Sounded a little bit like one of those 90s or 2000s Latin pop tracks, the like you might get from Shakira, for example. Really enjoyable track, the kind that you want to dance in your bedroom to with no one watching, ideally. But there are some actually lovely, softer, more ballad-like tracks on this record I want to call out too, like Time feels more akin to an 80s pop ballad, with its sort of synth new wave energy about it. And I love this more mellow and pop style that she offers up on this record too. Don't Know What You've Got Until It's Gone is the album closer, which is a similar sort of track, with those 80s pop inflections. And I could almost even imagine Lauren Maybury singing on this song. And I wondered if, maybe Sophie had been listening to a bit of Churches, or someone involved in this record had listened to a bit of Churches before this song, because it sounds a lot like a Churches track to me anyway. But a great song all the same. I loved it. Freedom of the Night is another pop banger on this record. Some people have been calling that particular single Murder on the Dance Floor Part 2. It's another wonderful song, I think, on the record. Maybe not quite as memorable as Murder on the Dance Floor, to be fair, but still a solid pop track once again. And Layers, another track, yet another song I want to mention. Fantastic song, another infectious chorus, another dancehall filler. Love the instrumental motifs throughout this one, and more of those kind of well-placed piano fills throughout. Overall, this is, for me, my favourite pop record of this year. I think I can say that with a lot of confidence. There are more records to come for the rest of this year. Pop records rarely appear in my year-end lists, but sometimes you get one or two making an appearance, kind of more pure pop kind of albums. I do like shoegaze and dream pop, but you don't often get those kind of more pure pop records in my list. Well, I'll be damn well surprised if this one doesn't appear somewhere. This is a 9 out of 10. Sophie Ellis-Bextor is back with a bang here with Perimenopause. And until next time, hope you enjoyed this review, guys. Do drop a like and a sub if you're new to the channel. Enjoy this kind of content. Encourages, liking and subbing encourages me to do more of these kind of videos. But until next time, everyone, bye for now.